I'm pretty new to mixed media, but today I'm going all in and trying as many different mixed media techniques as I can to really learn how to do it and why it's so popular. I've chosen 100 tools and techniques, and I've spoken to some amazingly creative people in the mixed media community to find out just what's so special about this kind of art.
So I say trust the mess, not even the process. Like, let it be messy. Have several journals going at once. See, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 13 journals there.
How many journals do you have going at one time?
6 or 10. 6
Well
to
done.
tons and tons. While that dries, I'm going to work on this. And sometimes, you get inspired by one thing and it puts you down a little creative wormhole, and that's where you'll be for a while.
So even in this demo, she's working on 3 different paintings at once?
I know, I
love
can't
this.
help it.
It's great.
You can't do it wrong.
If you don't know where to start by making a mess. And by that, I mean it's time to make some collage fodder. Just grab any supplies and start making something. Anything. Start colouring backgrounds, start testing your tools. Mixed media is about exploring and learning, not about trying to achieve a perfect result. I used to be a huge perfectionist. I've had to be intentional about learning to fail, learning to leave things unfinished or imperfect, and embracing the mistakes. And as it turns out, mixed media is the perfect way to do that. There are no rules. You don't have to start with a plan. You can embrace the ugly art because even your failures can be repurposed into something beautiful later.
My biggest challenge with this whole mixed media thing is letting go. I've come from coloured pencils. And with coloured pencils, you need to spend time and get the details right. So to let go and just embrace the mess in a way is probably the biggest reason why I want to do mixed media in the first place, because it's something that I struggle with. I am a perfectionist.
The mistakes are the happy moments that you didn't know. And it's taking that freedom, because those mistakes do turn into that character, and it's complete freedom to do whatever you want, because when it's done, it's just so beautiful.
Collage fodder doesn't just have to be the art you make. It can be the things that you've collected over time and didn't know what to do with. In fact, my favorite category of collage fodder is called ephemera. Ephemera are all the little collectible papers that were originally expected to have only a short-term use or popularity, like all the stuff that most people would throw away. Envelopes, ticket stubs, newspaper, packaging, old paper or notes, paint swatches, cards, stickers, toy money, sheet music, maps, receipts, stamps, playing cards. The list is endless, and all of it can be used for mixed media. I'm sorry if I've just given everyone permission to hoard. No. Still, don't hoard. Just collect.
20 people can use all of the same products and create totally different things, which is amazing to me.
It definitely seems like mixed media is the perfect art for someone who can't decide what they want to do.
100%.
Because you just get to do it all. That's been really interesting with mixed media, because all of a sudden I'm using all these things that I don't normally use, and so my space has been the biggest mess ever, and all I keep thinking about is I need more storage. I want a dedicated spot for my stamps. I want a dedicated spot for my stencils.
You got the bug.
Now I'm collecting all this ephemera and everything I see in the public, like even bottle labels. I'm like, oh, could I use that? This is like dangerous.
You're speaking my language right now. Seriously. Like you have no idea. Okay, I drink tea every day, right? Like in the little tea bags. I have gallon-sized Ziplocs of used tea bags that I've saved because they're really fun to make art on, okay? And my husband is like, seriously, how many of these do we need? I'm like, what am I gonna just throw it away? I don't think so. This is from an egg carton. And look at how cool these little X's are. I use this on the jelly plate.
You see texture and patterns everywhere now, right?
100%, yeah.
It's fun to build up a small collection of things that have a similar colour, theme, or can be used in a collage. You can even use some of these as backgrounds to create your own fodder, or stamp and colour them to match a style you're working towards. What do I do with all these pieces now? So if you're still wondering what mixed media actually is, it's quite literally any art made up from a combination of different materials and supplies. If you've ever coloured with markers and pencils, that's mixed media. If you've ever added paint pen details, that's mixed media too. These examples aren't probably what you'll see in the suggestions if you Google mixed media inspiration, but the point is that you can use anything, even if it's not intended to go together, like acrylics and oils. The use of mixed media goes right back to the early 1900s with Pablo Picasso's collage that used paper, paint, cloth, and rope in a single piece. Mixed media can include collage, altered book art, assemblage, and even sculpture.
Can what you do in mixed media be summarized?
I'm trying. I think with other creatives, my focus is in art journaling because I really feel like that is the starting point for everyone. And that's the place where you can be the most free. So if you are like, ooh, I'm not sure about that, or I'm still learning, I got some new products and I don't know how to use them, let me play on a journal page. That is really a place where you can be free to play and no one has to see it or everyone can see it.
Art journaling sounds like the perfect place to start. So I've got my book and I have been filling it with as many different techniques as I can.
What's your favorite thing about art journaling?
That there's no rules, that anyone can do it. You know, people say, what kind of art do you make? And I say art for everyone. I'm like the gateway drug to fine art. It might be butt ugly, but it's not wrong. And your journal's just for you. You don't have to put it on the internet. You don't have to show anybody. Definitely don't show your partner. Like, they don't care. You do it for you and no one else. And I think that's very empowering. So let me give you a typical page that I'll often teach beginners. Not that there's a right or a wrong, but I think an art journal page has 3 components. I think it has a background. I think it has a focal point and journaling, because I include journaling on or near or around my focal point. And then I think it has what I call top texture, meaning those little extra things that make it interesting, like splattering paint or a little extra stenciling or, you know, extra mark making with a Posca pen.
So I've barely started on this mixed media journey and I am already hooked. It's art with no rules. It's an opportunity to let go of your perfectionism and be fearlessly creative. It's a chance to take risks, try new things, and use every supply you can imagine. There are no mistakes, no barrier to entry, just a big creative adventure. I still love my colored pencils, but I can see myself embracing so much of this attitude and freedom towards art in everything I make from now on.
This is my upstairs art studio because you have to have art in all the rooms of your home. If you didn't know that, that's what I do. And even by my couch, I have like my colored pencils and some of my Jane Davenport supplies, like my water brush pens. And
Speaking of Jane Davenport, I'm speaking to her as well.
She is, if I can just say this, I cry. I'm gonna cry. I love her so very much. She's my favorite artist of all time, and I love art and I love photography and I have a degree in photography and I have a lot of artists that I love, and she is my absolute 100% favorite of all time.
I love that, like, you can start a page and not have a plan.
Yeah, and the pages don't have to make sense. Sometimes you create something and bang, out of the gate in 3 strokes. You know, you feel like, wow, like this is what I'm meant to be doing. You get that nice feeling. And other times it's like wrestling an alligator. I have done so much drawing and painting and mixed media and all this that I know the more challenge and death spins that the artwork goes into, the better friends we're going to be at the end. I need to hang in there, and eventually something will happen. It'll turn around. And it's this wonderful feeling, but you've got to hang in there. And if all else fails, just put paint over. If you can just enjoy the process. So I say trust the mess, not even the process. Like, mixed media doesn't really have any rules. It allows me to fully experiment and experience colour. I went to an art class that I've just went to each week, and the teacher would be saying to someone else, don't use purple, don't ever use purple. Before he finished the sentence, my hand was on the purple and I was squirting purple. I mean, it's a rebellion. Sometimes if I try and make things as ugly as possible, that doesn't even work because colour isn't ugly.
Let's just take a few steps back and talk about backgrounds. There are so many ways that you can create a background, and there's no right or wrong, which is the case with every step in mixed media. But every artist does have their own small set of techniques or personal art rules that guide their work, and this style is different for everyone.
Now, how many layers go in the background? You know, that's a very personal choice. I tend to like 3 to 5 layers in a background. Another thing in Dina land is that I don't cover 100% of the substrate, meaning I'm not going all the way to the top. I mean, I'm connecting edges, usually 2 to 3 edges, but I'm not doing the entire real estate. That's a Dina thing. Okay, this is you're getting gospel according to Dina.
I've noticed that some of my backgrounds start as a huge mess. And I don't always have a plan, but it's just the first layer, which really takes the pressure off. Failures are never really failures. They are opportunities to adapt and be creative in new ways. Lean into the mistakes. Make art from the mistakes. Today I had some extra black paint and I was like, oh, maybe I'll do that on this page. Can I just put a stripe through this? Should I? And I was like, oh, like I'm kind of just waiting for someone to dare me to, you know?
Yeah, just do it.
It's like, yeah, okay.
Well, the more free.
What's the worst that can
You
happen?
can't make mistakes. You just can't make mistakes. The worst thing that can happen is you have to just do some more art because maybe you paint over it and you end up doing more art. Well, you love doing art anyway, so just do more
It's
art.
a good problem to have, isn't
It's
it?
not exactly a punish. It's good.
And don't worry if you can't figure out your style right away. There are so many different ways to create. You'll often need to try a bunch to work out which methods you enjoy the most and which pages bring you joy. That's exactly why I'm just throwing myself in and trying as many different techniques as I can and seeing what I enjoy the most, what looks good, and what I'll maybe never do again. So let's talk about the focal point. This is the first thing you see when you look at a piece of art, and it's different for every page. How do you choose what your focal point will be?
Well, if you have a subject on it, the eyes will always be the focal point because as human beings, we are reading body language and we are always going to, the eyes are always going to be what takes our attention. Or if there's a pattern, I know our brain loves patterns, it'll lock in on that, or lettering.
So for this page, I actually decided on my focal point first. I found a photo of Charlize Theron in a magazine and it felt like a good starting point, although I didn't have a plan for everything else yet. I started with some white gesso on the background and I made a collage with some different pieces that I've collected, including this colouring style tissue paper that I saved from my colouring planner. I don't think there was any particular point during this page where I knew what I was going to do next. I used painter's glue, palette knives, stencils, I added stickers, and I asked myself multiple times, do I even like this? Is this ugly? But I just kept going. I just kept adding layers. And by the end, I really liked how this turned out. Trust the process. Trust the mess. Okay, I'll be honest, I wasn't enjoying this today. I had a picture in mind for what I wanted to create and I put a lot of time into it and I hated it. I know that goes against everything I'm saying so far in this video, but I was torn between wanting to abandon this page and cut this out of the video or just change my plans and, well, take my own advice. So I walked away took a break, had some lunch, and when I came back, I had an idea on how to change this and create something totally different. It's okay to be angry and frustrated about your art. When you're feeling this, don't give up yet. Walk away, take a break, and come back when you're ready to try something new. I'm far more excited about this new page. It's better than what I originally pictured, and now it tells the story and is a reminder to me not to give up. By the way, these supplies I've just used were all a special gift from Jane. The last time I had a rainbow pencil was when I was like a little kid and I loved it.
Okay, so this one has pigment. So
Ooh, it'll be better.
the ones we had as little kids just weren't.
They
very-
weren't, you had to press pretty hard and you only had 4 colours. This is like, how many colours is that?
Oh, rainbow. So it's one of my favourite things to create with.
The rainbow pencil's actually amazing. I don't want to stop playing with it now. Okay, I actually really like this more than I thought I would. Yeah, these look like they'd be really good for collaging, just looking at what you've done on them.
So I've got it like to reinforce pages. But see, this is very fragile paper. And so I've got washi tape on the edges of most of it, or different tapes.
Marzipan twists.
Those I like drawing with lipsticks.
That's just like so nice to draw with.
They are so buttery and and the colours are gorgeous. They're water soluble, so you can get in there, but they will set. So if you want that full water solubility, do that, before they set.
Oh dear, we went full casting. That wasn't the plan. So these are the inks that make really cool skin tones. Part of me thinks this should come with a disclaimer of like, do not try this at home. The other part of me is like, try all the things. Probably do better than I'm doing. Maybe while I do this, we should like on the screen at the same time put one of Jane doing one of these, because then you can see what the potential can be of this. But I'm playing, I'm having fun. Maybe this isn't even about using different colours. Actually, there's a whole lot of colour in this one bottle.
So with mixed media, as you progress, you'll start to really concentrate on things that are water soluble and waterproof. And that will become a big deciding factor in how things layer. And once you unlock that for yourself, yes, isn't that amazing? It's a neon pink permanent ink.
I mean, you know we have to try this. Whoa, that is bright.
So this has got more skin tones in it.
Oh, they feel so nice. Look at that. Beautiful colours.
And this one's got like the dark to light to cool, warm, all that. And this one's got 2 mixing palettes. So you've got a cool mixing palette and a warm mixing palette, plus a beige. So you've got a beginner skin tone, just one skin tone, but you can make that lighter and darker. Neon pink, because you can't mix neon pink, and neon pink is an essential, and black and white.
I have to say, I'm just really impressed at how much Jane's products just have a lot of colour.
You cut out whichever bit you want to use. Okay, and then just on the smooth side of it, the more plastic side, you just rub over. And you can see it coming off the backing sheet. And it will go onto your paper. Yep, and transfers on. Oh, this is so much fun.
It wouldn't be a mixed media video without a gel plate. Let's give this a go. Oops. It's probably a good thing I put this paper down. I've already played with one of these in my last video where I tried to reverse colour a colouring page with some success. But what better way to learn how to use one than to speak to the creator herself?
This is such a simple method of printing, and you can use so many different things to create textures, and it's really fun to sort of look around your world and see what you look at the world very differently, and you look at it in terms of texture. And when I first started this, I started looking everywhere, like my coffee cup. I was thinking, oh, I could do the circles, or, the holder for a coffee cup, you can unwrap it and there are all the ridges underneath it. And so you start finding texture everywhere.
So it really helps you to see the world differently.
Totally. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to apply acrylic paint to the surface, roll it out, put a texture on the paint, and then transfer it to paper. So it's that simple. And people love to do layers, so I'll do 2 layers because it's really fun. So I like to start with a lighter color for the base. And these are this is one of my favorite colors. Isn't that pretty?
That is a nice color.
Yeah. I'm rolling in one direction, which helps just with the paint, getting a smooth coat of the paint. So now I'm gonna take a texture. So we love using, we call it's trash or treasure. So you look around your house and you find different gems that could create really cool textures in the paint. And then put my paper down, remove that, and then just press with my hand. So now I'm just gonna remove it. And you can see from your trash, you end up with a really cool design.
That's very cool.
Yeah. You just need a little bit of paint. A little goes a long way when you're printing.
I used this once in another video, and that's the first mistake I made, is I put way too much paint on this.
Hey, you're not the only one.
Yeah.
I would say that is the #1 issue that people have when they start to print, that they use too much paint.
Yeah, that's already like a lot of paint. Gee, that's deceptive. I felt like that was very little paint, but it's got so much paint in it already.
So using masks when you're printing is really fun.
Oh wow, look at that.
And look at how cool that is. So that's just 2 layers.
Yeah.
And it's already so pretty. And you could keep going and do more and more layers. And when it's dry, you go over it with another color, which reactivates that paint.
Right.
And then you pull the whole thing up. Paint stuck on the plate is really some of the most beautiful things, because if I let this sit here and then I just went and did another print on top of it, and you just kept doing that and you never cleaned your plate would end up with all this crusty paint all over the place and all these beautiful colors. And then when you go to pull a print, some of the pieces of that come up in your print and it is stunning. So some people never ever clean their plate.
The accidental art that you get from it.
That's right.
What inspired you to make this?
So my girlfriend has been a lifelong artist. When she was 3, her mother asked her, "What are you going to do when you grow up?" And she says, "I'm an artist." Also, she's an encyclopedia of art materials. She knows every art material there is. And she worked in really fine, detailed prints and works. And so when she needed a break, she would print on Jell-O. So she would make up a cake pan of Jell-O and put it in her refrigerator.
Wow.
And she called me over one day and she said, "You have to see what I'm doing." And so I went over. She took this big cake pan out of her refrigerator. She dumped it out onto her kitchen counter. And I'm thinking, is she crazy? What's going on? She takes paint, she rolls it out just like I did. And then she took a comb and she went through the whole thing. And she then put paper down, patted it, and she removed the paper. She pulled her print. And I looked at it and I went, holy moly, that thing is gorgeous. So I am not an artist. I'm a business person. So I do the same thing. I copy what she does. And I put the comb through, I pat the paper, I pull it, and I pulled the most beautiful print. And I said to myself right there, it sort of clicked in my brain that if I can do this, anybody can. Oh my God, I could be an artist. And you know what? We all can be an artist, no matter what anybody told us in the past, but we don't know that.
I'm going to end up producing a whole bunch of backgrounds just from rubbing off the excess off the brayer, and I kind of like them. I am really loving every aspect of this. It feels so liberating to just create and not be trying to make perfect art. And everyone I've spoken to has really inspired me that anyone can do this. Anyone can create beautiful art even without being an artist.
But I'm not an artist. I'm a creator. I'm a technique junkie is what I am. I love all things technique. And when I can turn this over and feel like I've created something so beautiful.
I think this is a lot of what I'm wanting to show people on our channel as well, is that art is accessible.
It is.
And mixed media seems to be a really good, I mean, adult coloring is the same. It is so accessible to anyone. Anyone can have a go, but you can turn it into art. And I feel like the mixed media is the same thing, where it's like the mistakes become a part of it.
I'm a technique junkie. I like the technique.
We're gonna have to introduce you as Stacey Park, technique
junkie. That is what I am. I love the technique of things. I love learning how to mix things together and to take things that you're not supposed to use together, but use them together.
That is my happy place as well.
That is my happy, but I want to be so far outside the box that there really was never a box to begin with.
I love it.
You spend a day just throwing paint on tags. You spend a day, you get a new art supply, and you're like, well, how many things can I do that? I'll watch a ton of videos and I'll just make collage fodder, tons and tons. I have boxes of it at home.
So it's kind of like a never-ending art piece.
It is.
So do you have any kind of fine art training or any kind of art background, or is
Just
this?
a know-it-all. So for a couple of years, I studied for 2 years to be a docent at the Phoenix Art Museum. And then I was a docent for 7 years, which was lovely and helped me learn to think about art, or and speak about it. But I just read a lot, and there are people with a God-given gift, and everybody else can work at it. So I just work at it.
With all these new techniques and new art supplies and collections of fodder and art, it's time to pull it all together. I've done this differently on every page. Sometimes I've created a bunch of art separately on different papers, and then I've brought them into the journal in some kind of collage. Sometimes those pieces become the focal point, and sometimes they are just part of the background. Sometimes I already have a plan for what supplies I'll be using, and sometimes I just keep adding layers until it feels finished. So my mum died a few years ago now, and this is my mum and dad on their wedding day, with the turquoise colour that they chose for the bridal party as well. Especially if you're a beginner, one of the best ways to make a whole page look cohesive and intentional, no matter how random it actually is or the process that you followed, is to use a colour palette. If you can be confident in your colours, you can take bigger risks with everything else. And just like every other art supply I've been playing with, there is no wrong approach as long as you're enjoying making art. In my own journal, I've used a colour palette from the Colour Cube for almost every page. Sometimes I followed them strictly, and other times it was just the initial inspiration to get me going. Repeating the same colours in the background, the focal point, and the top texture can really help to tie everything together.
That is one of my secret weapons, is repetition. So just so things don't look like, oh, you just stuck that there. I like to repeat a color. Repetition, it creates unity and rhythm in art. So let's say I decide that goes on there. And then what I'll do is I'll choose a color that already exists in the background. So I've got that raspberry, I've got some teal. I'm going to overlap. See, that alone anchors it. You create repetition and it makes it feel, it's cohesive. It makes it feel like it belongs in the piece versus an afterthought, right? Top texture is those little extra things that you do to just finish things off. One of my favorite ever is called POX, P-O-X. And the reason I call it POX is that every time I do it, I'll do it over a face I've drawn, or I'll do it over a stamped image, and the paint splatter, it's essentially paint splatter, manages to get on the face of the person I've drawn or stamped, and it looks like they have chickenpox. What I like about POX is that it touches a little bit of everything, and so it acts as a great unifying tool, right? And that's very typical Dina style. A background, a focal point, and then top texture. Yeah?
Some other ways you can create top texture is with stamps, paint pens, more paints, or even things like gold foil or gold highlights. But be warned, not all pens like all surfaces.
You'll ruin every pen you ever owned in your entire life.
I've done that. Before you go further, I do have to ask, I know you
Yes.
mentioned before, what do the words say?
So the words say whatever is authentic to my moment. So right now I'll be like, I am making art with people at the show, blah, blah, blah. And It's just the way that I like to add text.
So but they're always words? Is it ever just
Always
gibberish?
words, but never.
Yeah, always words. So there you go. There are hidden messages in every book.
They are.
It's been 4 months since I started working on this. And while I knew I'd have fun, I didn't expect to find such joy and even freedom in creating the pages in this art journal. I've tried a lot of different art styles on this channel, and I'd love to keep exploring more styles and using more supplies and revisiting some of my favorites, but I don't think I've ever felt quite as excited as I have since discovering mixed media. It's all of my favorite things together. It's also been a really good respite during some harder days, even with the pressure of recording all of this for a video. One of my goals this year has been to work out where my passion is and what art brings me the most joy. And maybe it's a little bit of everything. Maybe this is exactly what I've been looking for.
You are in connection with that subconscious part of your brain, whether you call it the muse or have more of a spiritual connection to it. It does feel like it comes from somewhere else or a different part, and you get these ideas that start to flow through, or colour combinations you can't explain. And I just let that happen. It's like a dream almost. It doesn't have to make literal sense to be nutritious and beneficial. And I just feel better when I'm playing with colour.
If you're like me and are curious about how to jump into mixed media, I'm going to share all of the supplies that I've been playing with, my favourite techniques, and a step-by-step process for a few of these pages on my website, along with a list of some amazing mixed media artists worth following for inspiration. If there was one thing that you could give advice to for a beginner.
Whatever your favourite colour is, in that moment, doesn't have to be your favourite colour the whole of your life, just whatever intuitively is attractive. So if I look out at my art supplies, there's a neon pink. And so I would get a little bit of that down on the page and just enjoy it going on the paper. There really is no right or wrong. The more you do, the more mistakes you make, the better, because you find out not only what you like, you find out what you don't like. And that is just as important to know. So just do lots and lots of art. You love art. Once you've let that creative part of yourself be fed, it's just so much a part of what keeps you balanced and what keeps you yourself. And then you can go out and ripple all of that good vibes, all of that good energy out into the world, and you can encourage other people to create as well.